So Measure N is a $542 million bond put on the ballot for Elk Grove Unified that would fund facility improvement across the entire school district.
So kind of moving on from this, in addition to getting my ballot, I also got a friendly reminder of my property taxes. And on there, I see light and maintenance assessment district fees, lights and street maintenance assessment district fees, CCSD fees. Um, I want to say, there's also Melrose for some people. Like there's a lot of taxes and fees and all that attached to properties in Elk Grove. I'm certain Sacramento as well. Why do we need another tax when we're already paying so much?
So it's a great question. Uh, in 2016, I'm going to give you a little quick history lesson. So in 2016, we had our first ever bond in Elk Grove Unified put on the ballot. That was called Measure M, and it passed overwhelmingly. And that allowed for 10 years of funding to upgrade old facilities, to modernize schools around the district. So that was 10 years. That is running out. We just sold the last part of that bond to finish up that work. But we are a large school district. We're the largest in Northern California. We have 68 schools. We would like to build more because our population is growing. We're a district on the increase, on the incline, not declining enrollment. And so we need to continue to modernize our schools. We need to continue to update ones that were built years ago. We want to stay relevant so that our students have the best possible environments for academics and success.
So kind of on that note, um, I think part of the spirit of the question also runs toward this, to some of the more hawkish, or I guess some of the more less willing people who might be willing to participate in an additional tax is, when I make a budget, I have to be able to allocate where my money goes, have authority over how much I'm spending from day to day, month to month. Why can't a school district be the same way? When we say, why not just use the money you guys already have? Why not just use those funds instead of coming back to the people to facilitate more?
Good question. Majority of funding that comes from the state, the government, it goes towards personnel. Majority of that. So that includes our teachers, which is why we have small class sizes, principals, custodian, aides, all the different types of employees that make a district run successfully. So when majority of funding goes towards personnel, it leaves a small pot for the rest of it. So a measure helps our schools stay updated and modernized. It allows, like, this funding, if the measure is passed, goes directly towards facilities. It doesn't go towards any administrative costs, doesn't go to any salaries. It goes directly towards upgrading our facilities and building new schools and allowing our students to have new science labs. All that comes with a facility upgrade.
Is there any kind of project you guys are kind of hanging your hat on, or one that's kind of like at the forefront of this type of bond measure? Uh, just any kind of, I think I'd compare it to like how the Ridge over in Elk Grove, the shopping center, their anchor building is the Costco. Is there kind of an anchor project that you guys look toward with this money or this bond?
So there's a couple of projects that we have lined up, and that those projects were based on community input and a needs assessment that was done by our facilities department. So there's several high schools and middle schools that we want to make sure that we have modern, updated science labs, career tech facilities. We want to make sure that our classrooms are equipped so that our students are ready for college when they move on. As you probably just experienced, we just had a heat wave. We want to make sure that we repair aging, AC, air conditioning, heating, electrical systems. We have some buildings that are older than others, some schools that have been around longer, and so we're seeing cracks in pavement. We want to make sure that our playgrounds and our parking lots are safe for our students to get to and from school. So all those different types of facility needs have been lifted up by the community and would help, if this measure passes, would help us pay for that.
One of the things on your guys' FAQ and some of your fact sheets mentioned improvements to HVAC, electrical. Uh, they're not the kind of things I typically think about upgrading when we talk about upgrades. Granted, like depends on the frame of reference, but the first thing that's coming to my mind is how old are these things we're supposed to be upgrading here? Can you give me a scope of what these improvements are?
So it really depends. We have schools that were built decades ago that are currently getting modernized, and portables and classroom buildings are being torn down with the first original bond and new buildings being put up. Elk Grove High is a perfect example of that, and Kerr Middle School. And then we have some facilities that are just 10 to 20 years old, but as we know, time things age, times change. And so we just want to make sure that we are continuing to have the most modern classrooms and facilities so that our kids are learning in the 21st century.
All right, I think at the moment that's kind of all my questions in regard to the measure. I'm going to take a wild guess as to what the district wants the public to do. But just in that regard, if there's anything else you want to make note of, anything else you want to mention that we didn't get a chance to talk about, maybe something that's come up a lot for you but didn't come up in this conversation, please feel free to say it if you have it.
One thing I will say, if this measure passes, one of our top priorities in our district, and we've heard from our community as well, is the safety. So this bond will allow us to continue to keep our schools safe with the most up-to-date technology when it comes to security cameras and all that really help keep our schools and our kids safe every day.
No, there's a lot of schools, at least from the one place I'm from in Turlock, often talked about fixed point of entry, solo point of entry. Is that the same kind of safety you guys are talking about, or is that something you guys have already established within your school district?
Yeah, we already have safe schools. We already have structures in place that make sure that our students are safe during the day and as they're leaving campus. But with this bond, it'll help us to improve and continue to enhance those structures, as well as our emergency response systems, and upgrade those so they stay relevant, so that we can continue to keep our students and our staff and when our families are on our campuses as well safe.
Actually, Lisa, I did have one more question for you. Has Elk Grove Unified done any feasibility studies in terms of this? I'm not sure if feasibility is the right word, or just some pollsters in general to see what the popularity, what the temperature is for people in terms of this bond?
Yes. So the Elk Grove Unified School District is a district that is growing and continues to grow. And one of the reasons we hear or we know why this is happening is because people are moving here for the schools. So we know that it's important that we have modern, upgraded facilities to keep up with our 21st century teaching that's happening in the classrooms. So there was a comprehensive assessment done that took place last year that incorporated stakeholders from all over. So not just people that send our kids to our schools, but the community at large, and understanding better what the needs are of the community and what they'd like to see. And so that's where this plan comes from.